And in the preview is a little video of a guy's mini-map who's being precision airstriked. And on the mini-map, there is a cute little pill-shaped icon indicating the trajectory of the explosions of the precision airstrike. What we've all been asking for I'm not kidding, years, we will finally be getting W-Wed Women's. This is what I suspect Ted Timmons has been teasing on the TL about some quality of life change he's very excited about. I'm pretty sure this is what he meant. Activision devs do not play their own game.
3,000 devs can't figure out how to add a reconnect feature to a AAA title, I guess. I don't know.
Because Infinity Ward doesn't tell their consumers anything.
Maybe that'll take some of the sweats away from Shoot House.
You can cope about that, for sure.
Thanks for tweeting, at least. Thanks for doing more than Infinity Ward has done. They just keep tweeting about the soccer bundles in the store.
Things that are bad. We've got a couple words. Why don't you kick it off, Tanner?
This is going to be a longer section than the first part you guys heard.
Change it, obviously, of course. We are live, boys and girls. Welcome to the Dropshot Call of Duty Podcast, episode number 394. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today, I'm joined by my esteemed co-host Tanner in the most high-quality sweatshirt I've maybe ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's up there. It's up there.
God, it looks warm and cozy.
It is.
In that sucker.
Yeah. I need to give it a wash. It's getting a little loose.
Getting a little loose,
nice and tight. Yeah.
Tighten that thing up. Yeah. Yeah. That's always good. Little tightness maintenance.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome to the show. Today, we have an episode on Season 1 Reloaded. So, yeah, obviously, last episode, we did a little bit of an audible. Responding to all of the backlash that we had gotten from our TikTok video on CDL players versus Warzone players. We did that episode. We put it out. I even made like a little sub video, a little 20-minute segment from that episode where we explained why we think Warzone players are better. And that has not gotten much attention from all the people who were very upset at us, which is fine and was to be expected. Yeah. But all that is to say, it appears our 15 minutes are over for now. But don't worry. We've got that opus working overtime, baby. We'll have some other hot takes.
We've already gotten 68 comments this morning on TikTok, probably, yeah. Yeah, we got a lot more coming, so maybe we'll have another little viral moment in the future. But in the meantime, boys and girls, it is back to business as usual. So the plan for last episode was to cover the patch notes for Season 1 Reloaded, such that they are, and just do our normal thing. Go over the patch notes, talk about whether these things are going to be good or bad, blah, blah, blah. But instead, we're going to do that today. And originally, the plan for today was to do Season 1 Reloaded first impressions only. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to treat this as a Thursday episode. We're going to go through the patch notes. We're going to go through all the tweets, all that stuff. And then when we get to a particular section about which we have a first impression, we will give it. So we're basically just going to mold the two episodes together. We're going to structure it like a Thursday episode, and then we're going to interject our little first impressions when we get to a section that we have first impressions about. Now, before we start, I will add, we don't have too many first impressions yet. We tried to play the update on Wednesday, and the game was utterly broken, as many of you perhaps know. And we'll get more into that. So we had no impressions by then. And then Thursday, we did our pod. And then Friday, Tanner and I played some more. We played a couple duos for a while, but we hadn't unlocked either of the new weapons yet. And honestly, with one exception that we'll get to,
it felt the same, the game. You know, we like the lighting changes in buildings, for example. I didn't notice that yet. And now, to be clear, Tanner and I only played like 4 matches. And then after that, we went to multiplayer, played Rio, and started doing the challenges to unlock the new guns. So that is where we are at. We will be playing a lot more this week. Tanner's unlocked the new guns by now. I will be doing that today, and leveling them. And then we will have a lot more experience with this patch, and all the new content, such as it is, under our belts. So then we will be able to start doing our bonus episodes, for the Patreon, for you patrons at any tier. And then also, we will probably talk more about our impressions of this update sometime next week, maybe next Saturday. I don't know if it'll be like a whole episode dedicated to it, but it might be, actually, for next Saturday. That's not a bad idea. Or it'll just be kind of nested in our other plans. So there's a little preamble for you. That's our experience so far. And now, I guess, other than that, the patron Q&A is up still. That's still live for Platinum and above patrons. Again, expect a lot of the COD bonus episodes to start coming out next week. And then other than that, go to our YouTube and like and comment and share our episode 393, as well as the video titled Warzone players are better than CDL players. It's like a 20-minute video I made. It has the most inflammatory, spicy, red hot thumbnail I've ever made, by the way. It is a picture of Biffle with a greater than sign and then a picture of Scump. Which is a claim we've neither made nor believe necessarily.
In fact, I said the opposite in that video, I think.
That's possible, but it's a great clickbait thumbnail, so I did it.
Well, that's how you know. If you get any comments on that say, like, you guys are so stupid if you actually think Biffle's better than Scump, you know that person didn't watch the clip.
Exactly.
And that's the point of the thumbnail, though. But it's not at all true, yeah. It's not at all true.
So.
Funny stuff.
So anyway, yeah, go engage with those things. Put us in the algorithm some more. We would appreciate that. Try to milk a little more out of our 15 minutes of fame. But yeah, other than that, the hangout we had last night was pretty fun. You guys did some customs. I was a little tired and just not, and I had played some COD that day already. I was kind of done. I was COD'd out.
You'd played 2 hours of COD, you're done, yeah.
No, we played like 3 hours.
Yeah, something like that.
It was a while.
Yeah.
It was a while.
Yeah.
And it was also like using a Rival 9 with the burst fire aftermarket part and the bullseye iron sight optic that cost me an attachment slot and just makes my irons worse.
And then using
so it wasn't like a fun 3 hour in tac stance, by the way. Yeah. So it wasn't like a fun 3 hours of COD that I had before the hangout. It was a miserable 3 hours of COD because I was doing the awful challenges. So anyways, the hangout nonetheless was still pretty fun. And we'll probably, do some customs next month, although, we'll broach that subject when we get there. So if you're listening for the jingle, here it is.
Fortunes Keep Customs. You think they're going to add fog to Fortunes Keep and Rebirth? Instead of removing it from Vondel and Ashika like everybody wants, you think they'll add it to the 2 newer maps?
With Timmy Timmons, you never know.
I'm going to be honest, I think they will.
They might add a new weather effect. Ted Timmons loves breaking barriers.
Rain.
So we'll maybe get like a sandstorm, like a Darude sandstorm.
We've had a sandstorm before, so what are we missing?
That's true.
A downpour? We've never had a downpour in Warzone, right?
Snow?
They're never going to do that.
Active snow?
They're never doing that, so that's a no.
A tsunami? A hurricane? A tornado?
Yeah, pull a little battlefield. Little hurricane
We're live.
comes
Welcome,
in halfway through,
boys and
knocks down the
girls.
Rebirth Tower, yeah.
Totally. Episode 394, destructible environments are coming to COD with season 2. That's a joke. Okay, so as I said at the outset, we're basically going to treat this like a Thursday episode. We're going to go over the patch. But when we get to something we have some experience with, we'll talk about our impressions of it. All right, now, first of all, for those of you who had the good fortune of not playing on Wednesday, you actually might not be aware of this, but the patch came out on Wednesday and it was miserable. I mean, probably the worst launch day patch I think I've ever seen.
Well,
the game was catastrophically.
It was really bad.
Not the worst, but it was really bad.
Playable for people on console at least.
Yeah, it was very
Caldera launch.
Yeah, playable is well, it was launchable, sort of. So basically, it was very complicated to queue for a game of Warzone. You had to like go. I don't know. It doesn't matter now because they fixed it. You couldn't pick up your loadout, or some people could, some people couldn't. Tanner was able to get his. I was not able to get mine. What else was wrong? Perks were not working on custom classes, even if you could pick up your loadout. And
precision airstrike notifications were not
there
working.
There were no precision
There were a lot of little
notifications.
things not working.
Yeah.
There were like unlock issues, I think, with the new gun. The extended mag on the new SMG, which a lot of people still are unable to get, which makes it unusable pretty much in Warzone because that's the mag you need. It's a 50-round mag. So there were a lot of little things, and there continue to be a lot of little things bugged with the game. Yeah, but they fixed the core major issues that were basically making it actually unplayable. So it is fully playable now for most
Yes,
people.
It is. However, one bug that still persists is the perks. So if you get your custom class in Warzone, and you have custom perk package 1 equipped on that class, it will actually give you perk package 2. So whatever perk package you have selected for a default or for a custom class, when you pick up your loadout in Warzone, it will use the perk package that is directly to the right of it in the like when you're making the loadout. So the workaround for this, while they investigate the issue, is to have the perk package you equip and then the perk package right next to it, just make a new one and have it have all the same perks, because it's going to use the perk package to the right of it. And then if you do that, it'll effectively work.
Yeah.
Pretty weird and annoying, but that's what Call of Duty themselves, in fact, have said is a workaround while they work on fixing the issue. And that does work. Tanner and I confirmed that yesterday.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
So
just create two perk packages that are the same and choose perk package 1 and use that in your loadout. But have a perk package 2 and have it be exactly the same.
Correct. And a lot of people, rightfully so, were very aggrieved by this disaster of a launch. And they had ended up fixing it at like midnight on launch day. So they fixed it within 24 hours, inside of 24 hours, well within 24 hours, actually. And I think that's a pretty good thing. Some people were saying like, oh, Raven's the best dev studio ever. Let's hold our horses there. And then other people were saying like, oh, don't thank them for fixing it. They shouldn't have even launched it broken in the first place. Well, the reason it was broken in the first place, or part of the reason, is because they had to do an emergency overhaul of the patch to take out covert exfils and weapon cases, which is what you guys wanted. So I cut them some slack in this case, and they fixed it very quickly. So I'm not mad at them at all. Not that this is a particularly important point, but because of how disastrous that first day was, Call of Duty tweeted We appreciate our community for their patience as we work through updates to Season 1 Reloaded while they fixed all those bugs we mentioned. As a thank you, we're extending our double XP event from now until January 24th. So it's 5 days, double XP for everything, including weapons and I think Battle Pass as well. And also granting 1 hour of double XP tokens for player, Battle Pass, and weapons within 48 hours of logging in. So in addition to the event being 5 days, we're also getting an hour token for each of the categories, which I think is a nice little gesture. Yeah.
We should have all gotten like 20 hours for playing MW 2.
Yeah.
For owning the game.
Yeah. This is the type of communication, response to feedback, and goodwill that we desperately have wanted that we did not get when Infinity Ward was in charge. But now we're getting all of it. It doesn't totally excuse the launch, obviously, but again, they fixed all of the major issues inside of a day. So I'm really not that mad about it. And as far as update days go, or update weeks go, I should say, we have definitely had worse. Because we've had updates where, think of Verdansk, it's Season 3 Reloaded. I have the Demon Polygon Transmog glitch where my gun is a series of polygons that obstruct all of the vision of the game, right? That is introduced or reintroduced with a new patch, and then I can't see in the first-person shooter game for like a month. And Infinity Ward just doesn't say anything about it. So listen, we've had worse than this. And I think the double XP event getting extended and giving the tokens is a great sign of goodwill. Not to mention just tweeting, hey, sorry guys, we messed up.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Something Infinity Ward has never done ever. You're not allowed to, there's a profanity filter, in fact, a custom profanity filter, blocked words, in the Infinity Ward Twitter account's settings. And it is sorry, apology, apologize, and etc. Whatever. Think of any other synonyms. So this was handled pretty well as far as blunders and their recoveries go.
Yeah. And they tweeted out basically an issue as to, or their reasoning as to why something happened and what went wrong. And we'll get to that later when we talk about some other things. But yeah, I've said that a lot on this pod is communication goes a long way. So that is the difference between Raven and Infinity Ward. Like Raven immediately was like, yep, we're working on these issues. Or I guess it came from COD updates. We're working on these issues. We're aware. They were tweeting things. It's an ongoing. We're trying to work on a fix. And then it was at midnight, which is probably the latest for Warzone I've ever seen an update go live.
Yeah, that was really surprising to me.
I even saw a few of the community managers that I follow. When that came out, they're like, finally, time to go home. And that was at 3 a.m. because they were in Wisconsin or something, 2:33 in the morning. They're like, that was a long day. We're done. So, but yeah, so them just communicating goes a long way for me. Because, actually, IDEB would have said nothing and then, eventually fixed it the next day and still just said, we fixed it, and that's it. And that's what pisses people off. At least tell people, make people aware of what's going on and what went wrong.
And their explanations as to why things did go wrong in the way they went wrong, which, again, we're going to get into. That just goes such a long way. And it makes people so much more understanding of why these things happened. I guess I'll just say it now. Precision airstrikes had no notification, which to be clear, doesn't matter because precision airstrike notifications have never worked anyway. But then they just literally stopped. And then they said, okay, the reason this happened is because we're planning a new feature with precision airstrike notifications. So we patched part of that in already to prepare for the full launch of that feature, which we'll get into. But doing that broke the notifications, but we fixed it. But that's why it happened. Yeah. And then I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. I get what happened. Like, I get how that makes, to someone who has never done computer coding or any of this goofy stuff, that makes perfect sense to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I get what happened.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all you needed to say. And now I'm way less mad that it was an issue. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. So yeah, as Tanner said, that communication goes so far. And I'm glad that some dev studio at Activision Studios understands that. Yeah. And it's not Infinity Ward, by the way, because they're a bad company and they're not good also. And they're not developers. So Infinity Ward's the worst development studio on earth. Development in air quotes. So anyway, let's move on to the patch notes for Season 1 Reloaded. We're going to start with the multiplayer Season 1 Reloaded patch notes here. And we're going to be a little more brisk than we normally would be because we do have some first impressions to share as well. So we want to get to those, have time for those. And also because many of you have already played or know most of the patch notes, but we'll go through the important stuff as always. So first of all, new maps, Rio 6v6. Test your mettle in a once idyllic coastal town where waters at the shore lap at the hull of a burning yacht signaling disaster. Wow. Okay. So yeah, first impression number 1 is on Rio, the new multiplayer map in sixes. Tanner and I played Rio 24/7. We played a lot of team deathmatch and kill confirmed. I played 1 match of Hardpoint. Didn't get to play Dom on it at all. And my first impression of the map is, it's okay. There are better maps in this game for sure. It's not terrible, but it's not good. And also the building, the central building. And remember, we talked about this when we had seen the TAC map overview in screenshots before the map came out. The central building is really where most of the map is happening. And I was surprised to see how fairly little it is in there. I don't know. It feels more claustrophobic in that building than the TAC map implies it would. The inside of that building just feels smaller than I thought it was going to be. And it's also all one level. So like you walk in and then there's stairs going up and then you keep going and then the stairs go back down and then you walk out. So there aren't like 2 or 3 stories inside of the building. It's all one story. It's one story with the elevation change at mid where you go up. But besides that, it's just one level, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, where most of the fighting takes place, it's on one level, yeah.
Are there 2 levels inside anywhere?
No, but I'm saying it's like, there's still, yeah, you go into the bottom, and then the one side has the 2 staircases going up, whereas the staircase and then the escalator. And then the other side kind of has a small staircase that leads to another little flat area, which then goes out to one of the lanes, and then that has the escalator and also a staircase. But I'm just saying, most of the fighting is taking place right at mid on that little flat area, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, to me, the map, again, yeah, it all hinged on what the inside of that building was like. And in my view, the inside of the building is not terrible, but it's just unremarkable, in my opinion. The map, and therefore the map as a whole, I think, is kind of unremarkable. It's not terrible. It's not Rust, but it's not great either. It's no firing range or anything like that. It's just a super, like, basic, frankly, uninteresting map. Now, as always, especially with first impressions, our opinions could change on this as time goes on. But, yeah, it felt fairly uninspired to me. How did you like this map?
I really like it. I think it's a great map. The first thing is looking at the screenshot. So this whole area that we've talked about before, that's not even a playable area, is it?
I don't think so, because I don't think you can.
That's
get
either not playable,
truck.
or I'm not kidding. Not once did I go back there or ever see anybody go back there or spawn there ever. So, kind of weird they use that screenshot.
I think the white sedan is in like the out of bounds area. Maybe that little patio is playable, but that's like behind spawn. No one's there. Yeah.
Oh, wait, that is playable. That is playable. You know, now that I think about it, I did spawn in that little area. Yes, inside that fence, and then because I remember mantling on that wall to go down that lane. Okay, so that is in, I guess, but it's basically you spawn there and you run up. Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was really good. Classic 3-lane map. Got decent sight lines down both lane. Has a lot of cover to move up. Trucks, pillars, things like that. They're kind of elevation changes on the lanes, especially on the one side lane. It's kind of like the whole thing is sloped, so it's not just like flat ground. There are long sight lines to snipe. There are like AC units or something
here with the bridge. Is
no,
what you're
the other
talking
lane.
about?
No, the other lane.
Okay.
That's well, I guess this one's kind of sloped too, but the other one's more sloped, and it's got like an AC unit. People snipe behind. To like a little garage you can go in to kind of flank a different route. Then there's a couple ways into mid from that side, or a few different ways, I guess, to get into, to basically cut across the map. So I think all of it was really well designed. Actually, I really, really like this. I think it's a really good sixes map. It is the perfect size. It looks good. It's easy to see people. All of it. I really like this map. A lot better than I thought it would be.
Yeah. 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 So anyway, that is the map, the new map. New operators, super don't care. New modes, nothing to really talk about here. Headquarters is now in, gunfight and infected. And then ranked mode is in now. So they had to delay it a little bit, but it's now since launched, and it is as you would expect. And I think we have a little more on ranked mode later. So next is the new weapons. So yeah, I'm very close to unlocking both of these, but I don't have either of them yet. Tanner has unlocked, I believe, both of them.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about your first impression of the LMG, the TAC Evolver E? I hate the name of it so much. How do you pronounce it?
That's a great question. In True Game Data's video, he said TAC Evolver, but he said the same thing. He said, I don't really know how you're supposed to pronounce it. I'm just going to say the TAC Evolver.
Okay.
So do you want me to talk about Warzone and multiplayer, or are we just talking about multiplayer right now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just,
Yeah, so TAC Evolver, the only time I used it was grabbing it in zombies to extract with it. It had 0, 0, 0 recoil. Your screen doesn't move at all. I mean, this was also like a recoil build, I think he said, with like the ammo type that reduces recoil even more. So it like, I mean, it had a 200 round mag in zombies. I don't know if it was pack-a-punch or however that was, or if you just put the extended mag on it. I don't even know if it has that by default, actually. But you could fire 200 rounds at like 50 meters and every bullet's hitting the same hole. Yeah. But we've gotten a little bit of info. It is absolutely terrible. I wouldn't bother rushing to unlock this at all right now. The stats are abysmal. I mean, it kills at all ranges 300 milliseconds slower than the TAC Eradicator in Warzone. So much that it's like
insane.
That True Game Data was saying in his video. I'm gonna retest it because it's so bad that I almost feel like I somehow messed something up, because it's just a totally unusable gun. I mean, it's like at 60 meters, it's a 1300 millisecond time to kill. That is, I mean, that's horrendous. That's so bad. So totally unusable. And I heard in multiplayer too, it's a pea shooter. So awful gun, cool. Which is fine because I hate LMGs. Don't make it meta. Please just leave it unusable. That's fine. HRM9 on the other hand, this is the new SMG. This thing is insane. Very, very fun. Low recoil. It's got the perfect fire rate. It has a 50 round mag, extended mag. It's got 18 levels, so it's quick to level. The unlock's easy as well. Oh, I guess if you guys don't know, the way you unlock these is in your battle pass, there's like a new sector that you see now. And in that sector, you have to do 4 base challenges. They're like, get 10 or 15 hip fire kills with an SMG. You can do, there are different, like, I think you can do zombies challenge may be different though, multiplayer or Warzone. So of course I just did multiplayer.
And yeah.
You do that, then you have to get like tac stance kills and then headshots and one other thing. And then once you do those 4 base battle pass sectors, then you do the challenge to unlock the actual gun, which is like basically like the 5th sector or the 5th tier in that battle pass sector. And that was 20 kills with an SMG while moving. I don't even know if it was with an SMG, but I think it was. Super easy to unlock. Just play Rio 24/7. You'll have this unlocked in, 20, 30 minutes, something like that, probably.
Yeah.
This thing is amazing. It's got really great iron sights. If I'm not mistaken, the thing that makes the iron sights better is one of the barrels, I believe, and it looks pretty much like the Grau iron sights. So much that I actually saw some people on Twitter a little upset. They're like, it's a shame that these perfect irons are on an SMG and not like an AR that they put out similar to the Grau, because that would have gone crazy in Warzone. But
yeah, this
is probably the new absolute meta SMG. Swarm did get nerfed, but the Swarm is still good. But this kills very fast up close. It's like the classic 610 milliseconds up close, 610 millisecond time to kill in Warzone. The first damage range drop off is, I believe, 16 meters. So I have not personally used this in Warzone yet. I've only used it in multiplayer, but it is going to be the absolute meta, I think. And it's a very fun gun. No screen shake like the Swarm has. Very easy to use. Very satisfying feeling. I think I'm really gonna like this, and I'm glad it's I'm glad it's the new meta right now.
Yeah. So yeah, a couple things to add quickly. So the LMG is not unlocked in the battle pass. They didn't add a new sector for that. The LMG's unlock criteria is to complete 5 of the weekly challenges for week 7. Yeah. That's how you unlock the new LMG. So you have to, go look for your weekly challenges to do that. And I would also add, the LMG is so bad that I would unlock it pretty soon and level it, because it's going to get buffed. And they might buff it a lot, because they're not going to leave it as terrible as it is right now, especially a brand new gun. They're not going to do that. I expect this to be buffed inside of 7 days, and it might get buffed a lot. So I would advise you guys to, at the very least, unlock it. It doesn't take long. And I would also advise you to level it, especially during a double XP event like we have right now. Just get it max level and then shelve it until they buff it, because they will. And they will do that pretty soon also. Will they buff it to be meta? I don't know, but they're definitely going to make it better, because 1300 milliseconds is, that's insane. Like, slow killing guns in Warzone at long range right now are like 1000 milliseconds. So there's no way they leave it this terrible. And it might even be bugged. That might even be why it's so bad. I don't know. I do have a question though. Does the TAC Evolver have a conversion kit like the Polemyot does?
No idea. I don't think so. I haven't heard anything about one.
Interesting. Okay. Because if it doesn't have a conversion kit, then it actually probably won't ever be meta unless they make it busted. So
yeah, it's a slow moving LMG. Yeah.
Yeah. So. The reason the Polemyot and Bruin have been meta is because you effectively put a conversion kit on both of them, or you literally do actually. And then it makes them way more maneuverable. And I believe lowers their recoil as well. I'm not sure on that part, but yeah, that's what makes them so good and viable in Warzone. So if this does not have a conversion kit, I would be surprised if it became meta, but regardless, they are going to buff it. I guarantee it. And probably pretty soon.
It probably wouldn't be till season 2, realistically. They don't do updates to the game between the seasons.
Yeah, maybe not.
Which is in like 2.5 weeks or something.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on. The boys event. It's in multiplayer. Yeah. So whatever. Souped up. Whatever. Okay, let's see. Next is global customization. Oh, they have reintroduced the Gaia skins back into the video game, but now they have no transparency in the character model. Everything is filled in. So I don't expect those to be busted overpowered, but if you just really liked the look of it, then go for it. Other than that, I don't think there's really anything else here that we care to cover. Multiplayer is the next little section here. Corrected inaccurate pros and cons displayed for several attachments in the gunsmith. That would be nice. Revise several attachment descriptions to better reflect their true effects. That's good. The gunsmith, by and large, already was pretty accurate for most things, and them continuing to shore those things up is good. So yeah. And then let's see. Nothing really else worth covering there. You can no longer spectate in third person in Control, Cutthroat, Search and Destroy, or War. So there you go. Teammates will no longer play enemy sound effects upon sliding and landing from a fall. That's interesting. So that implies that teammate sliding is supposed to sound different than enemy sliding, even at the same distance, which I think is a good thing, by the way. Now that works as intended.
Same thing with like footstep audio for teammates is different. I thought that was already fixed though, because they had fixed something with teammate audio from the beta to game launch or something very quickly after the game launched, but it must have just been teammate footstep audio. I think that they changed because I think it was as loud as enemy footsteps and they made it quieter. So I didn't even realize this was still an issue.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, but should be fixed now, so that's good. And then this is actually interesting as well. Remote turrets, Wheelsons, and chopper gunners will now disable nearby spawn points. That's a good thing, and that should have been in on day one. But if you've ever been getting spawn camped, spawn trapped on shipment, where you spawn literally right next to some guy's Wheelson who's just shooting into the corner, that shouldn't happen anymore. That's good, but I'm surprised it took this long. So there you go. A couple other things.
Also, dummy targets in the firing range now have 150 health, which is the same as multiplayer, because everyone always uses that to test things, and they think it's indicative of how the real live game is. It's always been messed up, but it does supposedly have 150 health now, so that should be at least fairly accurate compared to what it was.
Yeah. And then a couple of progression fixes as well. So just being able to unlock camos. If you haven't been able to unlock one, it's been bugged. That should be possible now. A couple little map changes here that we're not going to cover.
They changed the hardpoint hills on like every single map pretty much. They completely changed them all. So that's
really?
If you played a lot of multiplayer, you'll notice that. This is going to change ranked play a lot as well. But yeah, they've changed hills on like every single hardpoint map pretty much.
That's interesting. And that makes sense because they had to start from scratch with where hardpoints go.
Yeah, exactly.
Because these are all MW2 maps, original MW2. And back then, there was no hardpoint. So they had to create their own hardpoint hill locations for these remastered maps. So it's understandable that they would want to rework some of them. Subbase in particular, I'm very glad to see, because one of the hard points on that map was just in the worst possible spot.
On what map?
Like you couldn't hold it. Subbase. The one at mid, the first one. It was always in like, it was just so toxic to try and hold. So that's cool that they reworked all of those. So anyway, there you go. Okay, let's see. All right, so now weapons and attachments. So yeah, there were some buffs and nerfs for multiplayer specifically. Not gonna really go over these too much unless there's a particular standout. Because a lot of these were changed pretty minimally. Oh, that's a shame. The DG56, the LMG that handles like an AR. I loved this gun in multiplayer. For those of you who remember the camo grind episodes, I talked about this. This was like one of my favorite guns to use in multiplayer. It was really good. Maybe even a little overpowered. They figured that out, it looks like. Decreased max and medium damage ranges by a lot. So that gun is not going to be nearly as good as when I was using it in multiplayer, but that was probably warranted. And then the MCW, they changed a couple of the barrels, or one of the barrels, the stock. Yeah, whatever. Not going to go through that too much. Trying to see here. Interestingly, changing some MW2 guns as well. The Chimera, the Kastov 7.62. But yeah, we're not going to go into any of these details. If you want them, you can go look at the patch notes yourselves.
Yeah, there are a lot of weapon changes to MW2, a lot of them. I know Exclusive Ace also put out a full video, so if you really want to know details, go watch Exclusive Ace's video on this.
Yeah, there's far too much for us to just read to you, and it would be very boring. But a couple noteworthy ones here. Battle Rifle, Sidewinder. Decreased recoil and gun kick while firing. That's really good. If you're still doing your camo grind, this gun is not good. It doesn't matter if it doesn't have any recoil or gun kick. It could literally not move at all, and it would still be a bad gun, a really bad gun. So any buff is warranted, but it should make the camo grind slightly easier for you. So anyway, moving on there, nothing too crazy. Oh, did they touch the, I guess we'll see.
They touched like every
SMGs,
single gun.
blah, blah, blah. Rival 9 was a really strong SMG. And they buffed it, decreased horizontal recoil slightly. And for the Marauder stock, decreased firing aim stability benefit by 5%. So I was expecting to see it get nerfed, but not really.
I always thought the Rival 9 is a little overhyped. I didn't like that gun that much in my camo grind. Even using it yesterday, I'm like, I don't really like this SMG. It's got a lot of... It just bounces around a lot,
bouncy.
It seems like. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. It's got a very weird recoil pattern.
Mm-hmm. It's very, very
It's
good
an uncontrollable type of recoil pattern, is what it feels like.
Yeah, yeah. Either way. Shotguns, super don't care. LMGs, marksman rifles.
I'm not kidding.
Really,
I think they changed every single gun
rifle
in the game.
Was the DM56, right?
I mean, overpowered and hardcore, yeah. I never used it.
That was the one with
core.
no recoil and the very fast fire rate.
Yeah,
that
like
we
did
love,
not move.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they nerfed it slightly by making the sprint to fire 20% slower. Still going to be really good though. So that's good for you DM enjoyers. Let's see. What else do we have here? Pretty much it. Nerfed the inhibitor. And they even added a medium damage range. Okay. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Oh, they did a lot to the tier. They buffed the tier quite a bit, which it needed, I think. Well, they changed it. They changed it, I would say. Basically they raised the multipliers for the vital or parts of the body. So upper torso multi went up, but all the limb multipliers went down. Here's something interesting, by the way. Not that I care for the tier specifically, but here are two notes. Decreased arm damage multiplier by 23%, and also separate section, decreased hand damage multiplier by 23%. So I don't care about that for the tier. What I do care about is that implies that some guns in this game, in multiplayer at least, have arm multipliers and also hand multipliers. That was not information I was aware of.
I don't remember
before
that either.
Right now. Yeah.
Because we knew the boxes were all screwed up. We talked about that. And like some guns have hit boxes that other guns don't. Some guns were doing the same amount of damage to the arm as it was like the stomach or chest or something.
Correct, yeah.
This I don't think we ever knew. That may have been something they didn't even bother testing because that's never been the case that there was a hand damage. I wonder about that.
it's weird that there is a hand damage hitbox for any gun. Very strange. It's probably going to match up with the arm multiplier for most guns most of the time, but that's another little complication for the exclusive aces of the world. They're going to have to start shooting hands and feet as well now, which sounds incredibly annoying. But anyway, they also, for the tier, importantly, this is worth saying, decreased trigger action delay by a lot. 40% by default, and then also for the triggers that improve the delay, they now improve it more. So that's really good, because that was the worst part of using this gun. So that's very cool. So anyway, then that's pretty much it. Yeah. Then a couple like attachment changes as well.
OLV laser, that was a popular one. The MW2 laser decreased the aim down sight benefit by 2% and decreased sprint to fire benefit by 4%.
Yeah.
A lot of people, or not a lot of people, but people were still running those in Warzone on some guns, which was crazy to me, but you'll still see it.
Yeah, here's an interesting one as well. Round nose ammunition type. Revised description to accurately reflect its true effects. So they didn't actually change how it works, but they changed the description so that it reflects what it does. Dramatically reduces bullet range while increasing flinch. I'm surprised that frangible rounds are not in here, because frangible rounds need to also have their description accurately reflect its true effects. Because it says it like stops sprinting, but it also gives you a ton of flinch. So curious on that. But anyway, there you go. Let's see. Oh, bone conduction headset. The perk. Revised description to better reflect its existing effects. Reduces player combat environmental sounds to allow improved focus on hearing other footsteps. Okay, so that was their design intention. That makes sense.
This and also probably the round nose ammunition were changed because of videos Ace did, I bet. Because I know Ace did that one video where he talked about all the ammo. I don't remember exactly what round nose was. But there were ammo types that he tested and was like, this does nothing of what it says in the description. So that could be that as well.
Yeah. The thermobaric grenade, which is the one you throw, it's like a cookable molly almost. It's one of the new lethals that Tanner and I thought had a lot of potential, but it was terrible. Is probably not terrible anymore. Minimum explosive damage is 75 now instead of 25. That's a 200% increase. So that's a lot better now. So that's pretty annoying if a lot of people start using it, but they did buff that.
Explosive damage then, right? So doesn't it explode and then it kind of burns, or does it burn and then explode? Something like that. So it's still doing
and
more.
Then there's a burning surface after it explodes.
So it can still do way more than 75 damage total if you get burnt by it as well. I still don't even know if that could even kill you. I guess if you're just standing in the flame for a while, it could kill you. I'd be interested to see how long that takes.
Yeah,
that's that great.
Good. It's probably not like overpowered, because this is an increase to its minimum explosive damage. So you're not killing anyone at minimum explosive damage range anyway. But this might get you kills on people weak that you wouldn't have gotten before. So it did get better.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was probably warranted. So anyway, let's see. Oh, trophies will no longer kill cruise missiles. That's good. That seems a little too strong
was insane
for a field
that
upgrade.
Yeah,
I know, it's so crazy.
Done that.
Yeah. So anyway, couple changes to kill streaks. Not going to go over those. Ranked play is here. We're not going to go through this section.
I think it's all what we talked about already.
Yeah, it effectively works the same way it did last year, which is to say really well.
And
they are going to restrict a bunch of things that are currently going to or are GA'd by CDL players. Mm-hmm. So it will reflect how the CDL kids are actually playing the game, which I think is really cool that they do that. So they've tweeted that they're going to be banning things that are not technically banned in CDL but are GA'd. They're just going to ban them in ranked play, which I think is the right play. That's a good move. So anyway, yeah. A lot of details on this, which is cool.
Yeah, it goes over everything that is restricted, which is most of the items in the game are restricted in ranked play.
Right. Yeah. So the next section is zombies. And we're not really going to go over this. There's a new warlord. There are some new contracts, a new field upgrade. Oh, never mind. Not a new field upgrade. It's just a bug fix. And that's pretty much it, actually. Ram 7 should be usable in zombies now. A couple other little bug fixes and things. So that's good. And then that's it. That's it for the multiplayer / zombies season 1 reloaded patch notes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Not too much going on there. We got a couple new game modes. We got the new map Rio. We got the 2 new guns. It's a mid-season update. It's a mid-season update as far as multiplayer is concerned.
Oh, yeah, I mean, for multiplayer is concerned, this is actually a great update compared to what we've had. I mean, they changed every single gun, changed all the hard points. This is actually a massive update for multiplayer. It's just we don't really play multiplayer anymore, so we don't personally care. But if you're a multiplayer main, this is, especially like a ranked play main, this is an insane update, honestly. You get ranked play, all of these changes to different guns. I mean, like the MCW meta is even different now. I keep seeing CDL pros tweeting out new builds, so all of that has changed, the new map. It's a good update if you're into multiplayer.
Yeah, you're right. I'm downplaying how much effort went into that, especially like you just said, all of that weapon balance. That was a lot of weapon balance, and it wasn't lazy Infinity Ward weapon balance where they just say, we're going to add an extra damage range to the kilo where it does even less damage. Yeah. That's it, because it's too strong.
Yeah.
That's a lazy trash weapon balance change for a particular gun, right? But none of that here.
Yeah.
Sledgehammer has done, Sledgehammer/Raven probably put a lot of thought, obviously, into the weapon balance changes, because we didn't read any of it really, but they were all different. It wasn't any like blanket changes. They seemed well thought out.
Detailed stats.
Tanner's
as well.
right. And detailed stats were provided. That is a big deal if you're like still playing multiplayer and stuff. So cool. Very good.
Hello there. Today's episode is brought to you by our Patreon, where we offer our members and all of our episodes early access and ad-free. Starting at just $5 a month at the gold tier, patrons get a unique Discord role as well as 3 raw, uncensored Call of Duty bonus episodes every month, in addition to every bonus episode we've ever done in the past. The first episodes this month, we have not recorded. We were waiting for Season 1 Reloaded. It's just finally here, a multiplayer ranked play, updates to Warzone, the nuke is in the game. We're going to get grinding on those this next week, and we will have 3 Call of Duty episodes done by the end of the month. They're going to be pumped out next week. You get all of those for $5. At $10 a month, Platinum gets you everything from that gold tier alongside 1 Q&A episode, which we already recorded, and you can listen to right this very second. Damascus, $20 a month and gets all that, plus a behind-the-scenes episode every month, which is going to be a banger probably this month, by the way. A Damascus-only patron hangout and access to the Discord Damascus Lounge. If you hate hearing this ad, sign up for our Patreon today. Let's get back to the show.
Now moving on to the Warzone specific Season 1 Reloaded patch notes. So keep in mind, before we get started, again, we were originally going to get everything we're about to cover, in addition to covert exfils and weapon cases, with this patch in Warzone. But based on community feedback, they just didn't add covert exfils or weapon cases. So if this seems like a light Warzone patch, that's because they originally intended on adding more, but the player base didn't want it. And they only learned that 2 days before the patch came out. So cut them some slack there if it feels like this is light in terms of new content. Number one. Number two, I'd like to point out, Tanner and I were speculating on whether we would get the dedicated mode with covert exfils and weapon cases on the launch of Season 1 Reloaded or not, and it looks like we did not. As it stands right now, there is no way to covert exfil or get a weapons case, which they've already done all the work on programming and adding to the game. They just didn't actually add it yet. Neither in a dedicated mode nor in regular BR as well. So will we get that? Don't know. We'll see. But let's get into the patch notes here. Let's see. So some customization things, don't really care. The night vision gulag is in, haven't seen it yet.
Neither
overall
have I.
Overall map polish is the next section here. In an effort to provide players with a smoother, more immersive experience, our teams have put in extensive effort toward identifying and addressing various concerns with map geometry. We're happy to share that thus far, we've fixed over 50 mantle spots, 50 mounting spots, 150 areas affected by clipping, 20 known exploitable areas, and improved the lighting in 43 buildings. So that was one of Tanner and I's big complaints about Warzone, especially, was the lighting inside of buildings, some of the buildings in Warzone right now, or I guess prior to this patch. It would be just black as night inside some of these buildings, and you could not see people. And if someone was camping it and you walked in, you would die. Because you would not see them, they would see you coming, and you would die. I died that way probably 10 times since Warzone has launched. Just like an automatic I lose because the game doesn't have lights in this building. So I cannot yet speak to how much of an improvement the lighting is in these 43 buildings. I have not played enough yet. I haven't been in any buildings that have been improved yet. But I like that they're at least looking into it. Have you heard anything on the TL about the lighting specifically? Is it in fact better?
Not one thing, and I didn't notice it either. In fact, one of the matches I was playing when you weren't on, some guy, where was it? It was kind of over by Cargo, like northeast of Cargo, I believe it was, across the river. So like Hightown, Lowtown area, but like outside of that also.
Okay.
By a fire station, there is a warehouse. And that warehouse is dark, and Cope was in there and got killed. And so I saw the guy's dot on the mini map because he was shooting an unsuppressed gun. I open the door, and I'm staring in the corner there. And then I just start getting shot from that corner across. So I'm opening the door to the warehouse on the other side, and I'm looking across the warehouse where his dot was, which was like 30 meters away, probably 25, 30 meters. And I'm staring, knowing he should be there, and I could not see him. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting shot at. Cool. He also had the Gaia skin, which is also incredibly too dark still. It still blends in way too well. So that was annoying. Could not see the guy at all. I'm like, awesome. I don't see him, even though I know his dot's there, and I'm staring there. Once he starts shooting, then I could see like his character outline and everything. But that building in particular, way too dark.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
I haven't noticed any buildings that were better yet at all.
Yeah. So we'll have more to say on that as we start playing Warzone more here in the next coming days. But again, I like that they're at least looking into it. But yeah, I'm under no illusion that like the visibility is going to be perfect in every square inch of this map ever.
Yeah.
And
43 buildings, it sounds like a good amount, but I mean, we have 1 million buildings on this map.
Let's count all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, next section is modes, and it's just a paragraph. Let's see. And I'm not reading it. It doesn't matter. So they give us the playlist for this week, whatever. And now weapon adjustments. Here's what they say. In Season 1, we witnessed a number of powerful builds across the entire spectrum of weapon classes. With this update, we're taking a close look at some of the notable standouts while giving some much needed attention to those which might need help. In an update coming in the near future, and I think we're actually going to get to that later, we'll also be shipping additional changes to the Interceptor and reducing the medium to long range viability of the Swarm. So that's very interesting. And here we go. I don't think we're going to talk about all of these. We might. The Holger max damage was increased. The Holger AR doesn't really matter because if you're using an AR in Warzone, you really mostly care about your minimum damage, not your max damage. Because max damage, again, is being inflicted on someone close to you. By that point, you probably want to have your secondary out anyway. So you're really looking for minimum damage changes for the long-range guns in Warzone. Those are the very impactful changes. So this doesn't really matter that much. M13 was nerfed. M13B, excuse me. I don't know if it needed it, but okay. And then the MCW was buffed. Max damage went up. Doesn't matter that much. Near mid damage went up. Not sure what that means, but doesn't matter that much. And then to a barrel, the Cyclone barrel was nerfed. And the Regal heavy stock was also nerfed. So I actually tried using this because I hadn't looked super closely at the change to it. Because at a glance, it looks like it got buffed. Max damage and near mid damage increased. Sounds like a buff. But it's not the minimum damage. In other words, it's not the long range damage. The MCW is still dog poop in Warzone. Don't use it. Yeah. This was not enough to make it worth using, especially with the other options we have now. No shot on God's green earth should you be using an MCW in Warzone, period. Don't do it. It's not.
They
good.
need to get that into the meta, though. They need to. There are probably so many bundles that use the MCW since it's so good in multiplayer and like the most popular gun. They just gotta get that into the meta at some point soon.
I think a good way to buff it to make it viable but not overpowered is to increase the upper torso, neck, and head multipliers, so that keep everything else basically the same. And the reason for that, to my thinking, is you're using this very low recoil, very accurate gun. If you want to use it and squeeze out all the benefit you can, you have to be accurate with your shots. And if you are, since we raised those multipliers, you'll get rewarded with a pretty good time to kill. But if you're shooting people in the legs, it's still going to take forever. I think that would be a reasonable, sensible buff that wouldn't make it overpowered, but could make it viable, is if they just increased multipliers alone for, again, upper chest, neck, and head. I think they should do that. Because right now, this gun is just miserable. Yeah. It's so slow. You have to land so many bullets on people at long range.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that'd be good.
They didn't do that. So it's trash as it stands. Next, the MTZ was nerfed.
MTZ 762.
Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry. I don't think this gun was ever good, but people swore by it. But I don't know. It's probably not.
It did have a fast time to kill. Yeah, but it's, again, 30 round mag. It did reload fast. I never really personally ran it. I tried like once or twice, but it did have a very good time to kill on paper. Probably in like solos or something, it was really good. But then also, it's like the Ram's also very good and has 60 rounds and also has 0 recoil. So I don't know. But yeah, quite a few people were running this.
Yeah, they were. So I agree with the Boss B and the Ram. I don't understand why people were using this even before the nerf, but it's been nerfed anyway. So there you go. LMGs, a couple important ones. The Bruin was max damage reduced. Not a big deal. Here is a big deal. Minimum damage reduced to 26 from 28. So the Bruin was actually nerfed. We will get more into what is like meta right now after we finished the patch notes, but this was, and maybe still is, one of the meta guns. And it's been nerfed. Not too hard, but 2 less minimum damage is a pretty big deal. DGLSW, this is what I was using as my LMG. Just a solid little guy. Had a 60 round mag by default, so you got the free attachment slot. Handled like an AR, but it had that LMG damage and damage range. Very low recoil. Fun little gun. Wasn't the most popular, but it was used a lot, I would say. Its max damage and minimum damage were also reduced by 4 and 2 respectively. So again, not gutted, but definitely nerfed. The Polemiot conversion kit specifically was similarly nerfed. Max and minimum damage reduced by 2 and 2 respectively. So again, not gutted, but definitely nerfed. Particularly, again, that minimum damage reduction. And then the TAC Eradicator as well, which a lot of people were using. Same thing. Max and minimum damage reduced by 5 and 1 respectively. So the Eradicator was actually nerfed the least of all of these because its minimum damage only took a 1 damage hit, but that is still noteworthy. So there you go. Moving on to SMGs, the AMR9 was buffed a lot.
Nice. That's a fun little gun. I like that.
Yeah. So unlike ARs and LMGs, when we're talking about SMGs or secondaries, now we stop caring about minimum damage and we really only care about max damage or second damage range. Those are the important values, unlike with everything we've been talking about up until now. And the AMR9's max damage went up by 3, 28 to 31. That's a pretty big buff. So is it in the fold? We'll get to that. ISO 9mm from MW2 was nerfed. Max damage reduced by 3. The Rival 9 was barely touched. Slight reduction in horizontal recoil. Doesn't really change much. And then the Striker 9 from MW3 was near mid damage increased to 27 up from 25. I'm assuming that's damage range 2, which is actually relevant for the Striker in particular, because that was like one of the reasons I would use that SMG. Oh, no, it's not. Its first damage range was really good. Never mind. So I don't think this matters that much, but it was changed a little bit. And then moving on, that's it for SMGs. To snipers, the Cat AMR Zang 34 barrel, which is the biggest, longest barrel. Damage range benefits reduced by 9%, don't care. Velocity benefit reduced by 8%, do care.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very pleased to report it is still a one-shot kill to the head. At least they didn't change that.
Yeah.
So, an 8% velocity is a lot, but it's not insurmountable, and they didn't ruin sniping. So that's good. However, on that token, ammunition, Spire Point rounds, which were the high velocity sniper rounds that a lot of people were using. Damage range benefit increased by 2%. Super Omega don't care, because I'm either shooting them in the head or they're not dying.
Yeah.
So that doesn't matter. But this is a big deal. Velocity benefit reduced by 19%. So when you pair that with the long barrel, that's a big hit to its velocity. And it's a lot, probably, I haven't used them yet, but it seems like it'd probably be a lot harder to hit headshots now in Warzone.
Yeah, I was using it. Definitely felt a little harder to hit, but well, I mean, once you get used to the lead on them, how far to lead people, it'll be fine. Because I mean, even still, this velocity is way better than any MW2 high explosive sniper we had last year by like minimum 500 meters per second or something probably. So I haven't looked at the detailed stats to see what the velocity is now. But before it was right around, what, 1,300, 1,400?
I think it was like 1,290 or something.
Is that what it was? Because your build had more velocity, but it was slower. Mine had a little bit less velocity to start with. So if anything, maybe just use that other suppressor. Which actually, you know what? They may have nerfed that too. They did. The XRK Nightfall, they did nerf that as well. Velocity benefit by 8%. So, yeah, that suppressor may not even be worth running now either. Yeah, I don't know. It still felt okay. You could still hit people on head glitches, no problem, which is what a lot of sniping in this game is. Definitely going to be hard to hit moving targets, but it's still one-shots. In fact, I was really hoping they would make the newer sniper, the XRK Stalker, one-shot. They still have not. So I don't know if we'll just ever get more snipers that'll one-shot or not. I don't know. But I would love, I mean, we just need more snipers to one-shot. It's that simple. They want to make them harder to use, fine. Lower the velocity like this, but at least give us more options to use, you know?
Yeah, I'm still very confident that they are going to add one-shot capability to like most or all of the snipers a la Caldera. But they won't all one shot in the head at any range. They'll just add different damage or ranges. So like, you know, in Caldera, the car could one shot to the head on someone full health, but they had to be inside of like 19 meters or something. So they had different one shot ranges for all the snipers. And then for a couple of them, like the ZRG, it was a one shot at any range.
Yeah.
So I anticipate that's what they're going to do this year as well. Unfortunately, they didn't do it with this patch, but I would expect it by season 2. If we don't get it by season 2, then I'm going to be a little skeptical if they ever do it. But it would be very weird for them to have only one sniper having this potential.
And if it's something
when
to
they
do,
have a good precedent.
If it's something to do with ranked play, like they don't want to make a bunch of snipers one shot because then they have to figure out what to do with ranked play. Honestly, what they should do for that is when and if we ever get Warzone ranked in season 5 of this game, probably just ban all of like the ammo types or something, like ban the Spire Point rounds. So you have one shot snipers still, but they have that lower velocity because you can't use the velocity attachments. Because even at that point, I'm like, oh, I don't even know if I'm taking that over a AR, but it could be good to have like one person on your team have that in ranked. But you know, they can do things like that too, and then just have multiple snipers one shot in pubs, and you can use all those velocity rounds, but then you get to ranked and your build in pubs that can one shot at like 1100 meters per second velocity is maybe only 800 or something in ranked, so it's a lot harder to use without having to do some stupid cheese like the high explosive rounds that have a bunch of drop. You know, 600 meters per second velocity, awful, unfun to use, boring, slow.
Yeah, like unusable. Like, yeah, I agree. So we'll see what they do with that. But in the meantime, you can still snipe. It did get a little more difficult, though. They nerfed Dragon's Breath as well. Okay. A couple minor changes to a lot of the laser attachments. So like,
and these were the same changes in multiplayer. Yeah, so those were across the board, I guess. A lot of these changes were.
Yeah. And then the XRK Nightfall suppressor, which I believe was the max velocity suppressor on the Cat AMR you could use. They made a lot of changes to it. The only one that's really relevant in my view, velocity benefit, again, reduced by 8%. So a lot of hits to the bullet velocity on the Cat.
ADS penalty increased by 7%. That's a lot too. So the velocity is even slower now, and the ADS speed is even worse. That suppressor probably isn't even worth running now. It's probably just the other one that I was running, which I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
That's pretty awful.
Know. Yeah. We'd have to play around with it, but yeah, there you go. So, moving on, the Champions Quest. So this was in the game, and then they took it out because it was so buggy, and then they added it back in. So the Champions Quest is the new contract. You can unlock this contract by winning 5 games in a row of Warzone, or by winning 30 total in a season. And in a surprise twist that I was not expecting, but I'm very grateful for, there's a little tracker in your Warzone UI when you're in the lobby.
Yeah, every single person has the
always
tracker.
Present, that shows 0 out of 30, probably for most of you, perpetually, And if you hit 30, it's that little tracker's there to show you how many wins you have for the season. So that's a really nice little touch. That's the Ted Timmons touch. The Ted Timmy Timmons touch is just adding a simple little thing like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wed Women's. The Wed Women's watch. So anyway, deployable buy stations. Loot underneath a deployed buy station will be removed to prevent overlap. So yeah, don't care. Never mind. Let's see.
Another thing on the nuke, by the way, the steal mechanic will arrive in a later season, which is basically you can steal the nuke contract from somebody else. But they haven't released any more details on that. I mean, they say in a later season. This may not even be in season 2. Who knows? But that's going to be interesting to see how that works when it comes out.
Yeah. So if you kill the people on a new contract, you can continue it.
Yeah.
Which I think is a neat little interaction.
That is,
especially because if you're doing a new contract in Warzone, you are the best team in that lobby. So having a bounty on your head in the form of your contract can be stolen, I think is actually a fun little twist for the sweats, where they're going to have it's going to be even more enticing for all of the other teams in the lobby who are probably worse than them to come at them. And it's also fun for the other teams in the lobby because they have this capacity to beat this team that's probably better than them. But if they do it, they get to just usurp that new contract and they don't have to get 30 wins to do it. I think it's a very cool feature, especially for that particular contract.
Yeah.
I think it's good for everyone, really. So, but that'll depend on its implementation. We'll get into that when it comes out. So anyway, moving on. Black sites are now going to tend more toward the center of a circle.
Cool.
Which makes them a lot stronger, which I find kind of annoying. Because black sites are really strong and overpowered if you have one. Because you just get perpetual UAV sweeps, and now that's going to be occurring later and later into the game because it's going to be more central.
But it's also based off
be in zone longer.
Yeah, but it's still based off getting the stronghold event, which does not happen often at all. I played 7 or 8 matches of Warzone total yesterday, and we never had a stronghold event. They're not super common.
Okay, interesting. Yeah,
but
that's fair.
This is good because the times we would do the stronghold and then get the black site key, most of the time we would look and it's on the edge of gas. So we're like, okay, it's just not even worth doing whatsoever. It was actually just a waste to even have them in at that point.
Yeah. I guess
change.
you could be right. So yeah, we'll see how that plays. Zip lines improve the ability to interact and attach to zip lines.
They didn't.
This was principally a problem with the horizontal zips. The vertical ones seem to work pretty well. So I don't know if this is actually better, the horizontal zip functionality, but the fact that they even said it is good. So there you go. Let's see. Vehicles will now respawn after being destroyed as well. That's pretty interesting.
I don't know what that even means.
I don't think that's going to end up.
Like where do they respawn on the same spot or just spawns another vehicle randomly on the map?
I would assume it respawns in the same spot it originally spawned. So yeah, if you drive it away and then crash it a mile away, it'll probably respawn where you originally got in. That's my assumption. I don't know though. It's a good question.
I'm very curious to see how this plays out for solos, because solos is just people driving around in vehicles using a vehicle in game. So this sounds insane. Not sure of the reasoning behind this at all, but okay.
I agree. It seems unnecessary.
It seems like it'll just make the game worse. If anything, it's definitely never helping. So again, it seems like a waste of a change and completely unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how that works. For trios and quads, yeah, this isn't going to matter that much. But for solos, as Tanner alluded to, this could be very annoying. But don't play solos. Get friends. Covert exfil and weapons case update. Stay tuned for further details on the previously announced these things. Set for release in future. So yeah, we don't know when we're getting that or if we're getting that. They had said they're going to do it in a dedicated mode. I speculated maybe we would get that on patch day, but obviously we haven't. So they're going to release details later. So anyway, couple perk changes. EOD will now clamp damage to 120 instead of 150. So that's a buff to EOD. The max explosive damage you can take is 120 now and it used to be 150. So that's good. That makes EOD more attractive and better. Is it worth using? Maybe, honestly. Depending on how many explosions you're encountering, I guess. But this doesn't seem like a bad change. And then quick fix. Fix an issue preventing health regen to occur after inserting an armor plate. So Tanner and I have been complaining about this for a long time. Quick fix was buggy and inconsistent, and they ostensibly fixed that issue. I don't have experience yet with that, but if it is in fact fixed, we will let you know. Or if it's not, I should say. But that's really good, and I would encourage you guys to try quick fix in Warzone. It is an extremely powerful perk when it's working as intended, especially when the health regen delay is like 7 seconds, which is insane. So, yeah. Plus, you can find a tempered plate carrier.
I'm
so
on
you
that
can get
quick fix,
tempered
John,
plus
now.
quick fix.
Yeah.
Do a little double dip. So,
officially quick fix main.
Bomb drone will now warn you 14 meters away instead of 6 meters away. Warn me of 14 kilometers away, or take it out, but okay. Altitude arrow improvements. We've made improvements to the way that altitude arrows appear above and below icons on the minimap and TAC map to help players better navigate their way towards objectives. So yeah, before, if I marked a bounty and it was in a building, on my minimap, it wouldn't show if the bounty's above me or below me. Now it will. That's good.
Was it actually doing that? Yeah, I didn't even notice that, honestly.
I don't know if they actually did it, but that's what they said they did. So, yeah, that's good.
There are a couple changes they made, too, that they didn't put in the patch notes. Like, one, when you have a bounty now, before, if they were outside of your minimap, you'd have to pull up your map and look at where they are. But now, they always show on the edge of your minimap, whatever direction they are. So if they're 800 meters away from you at the edge of your minimap,
that was very annoying.
It will still show the direction that they are. So at least you know the direction to run. That is massive. I'm glad they changed that. Also, as Ted pointed out on Twitter, which he didn't even realize made it in this patch, I guess, there are like different colors weird, right? Now for the bounty threat level. It's like you have a yellow, orange, or red or something on your UI. It's just something basically different with the font color that is noticeable.
It used to always be yellow, whether you were threat level 1, 2, or 3. Now it's yellow, orange, red, which is nice.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with the arrow improvements, I was hoping to see changes to the most important one, which is marking enemies. And of course, we're still dealing with the same awful enemy marks we've had since Warzone 2 launch, which is you mark some guy, he's 100 meters away. You're just actually hurting your teammates because they can't see the person. They can't see him. They just see a big red arrow covering the body. Please, for the love of God, Raven, make it an arrow over their head. Please, please, you have to do something. It is miserable. At this point, I hate when my teammates mark things. It's like, please unmark this guy because I can't see him, right?
Yeah. I'll literally ask for it. I'll be like, can you unmark that guy?
Yeah, because you can't shoot them. It's very hard to shoot a big red diamond at 100 meters with an iron sight Ram 7 because that diamond is way bigger than that character's model. So it's like I don't even know where to shoot. It makes it hard to track. It's awful. That needs to be fixed ASAP. That should have never made it into the launch of Warzone 2. It should have been fixed during Warzone 2. It needs to get fixed. It is a really, really bad UI feature currently.
In addition, speaking of altitude arrows, let's add some for advanced UAVs or if you have a comms vest.
Yeah.
I literally won't pick up the comms vest because I'd rather have a bog standard UAV because it'll show the altitude of the players near me than getting an advanced UAV that, it shows ghosted players. Cool. But now I can't see whether they're above me or below me. Whereas if I didn't have advanced UAV, I would be able to tell if they're above me or below me. So please add altitude indicators for advanced UAVs / when you have comms vest or bird's eye or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't believe that has not been fixed yet either. That's crazy. It's actually punishing you for something that's supposed to be an upgrade.
Yeah.
This is insane. Let's fix it, please, for the love of God. Thanks. So anyway, we didn't get those things. Audio. How many times are we going to go through this? Improved audio occlusion. Delete your character. I mean, how many times do I have to hear we've improved the audio occlusion? Stop saying the word occlusion to me. I don't know. The audio's not that bad, to be fair. The audio's been pretty good. So if it's even better now, cool. But I'm so tired of reading this patch note. Improved audio occlusion. Stop improving it. I don't know. It just annoys me. But anyway, the plane audio is supposedly less for the plane, the infill and exfil plane.
Well, they just said adjustments. I think they made it louder because I didn't notice anything at all. Yeah, it's still way louder than everything else. Yeah.
And this one is interesting. Reduce the volume of friendly slides, jumps, and lands to better distinguish between friendly and enemy behavior. So that mirrors what we already talked about for the multiplayer changes. This is a good change as well. My teammates sliding should sound different than an enemy sliding, even if they're in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
And that is now implemented. So that's good. And then a list of bug fixes.
Before we get into any of these, let me tell you 2 bug fixes that are still not fixed.
Okay.
I still stand when I revive people on KBAM. I don't know if it just always works on controller. I've never gotten good info. Some people say they can do it every time on controller. Some people say usually they can do it. Yesterday I couldn't crouch or prone ever, and I tried all the different combinations where it's like you start going prone first, then you start. So that's cool. That hasn't been fixed. And then another very, very annoying feature that is still yet to be fixed. You do not refill tacticals and lethals when you run over them on the ground. Ammo refilling works great. We've still got the Infinity Ward Warzone 2 pickup when it comes to tacticals and lethals, though. You have to stare at the ground and pick up smoke grenades even when you are out and you run over them. You do not auto-pick them up, and that is very annoying. Really wish they would fix that. That's got to be such an easy fix. It's just one of those things that I think they're just actually not aware is an issue because people don't talk about it. Very minor inconvenience that slows me down. So now when I hit an ammo box, I just actually pick up like an extra 4 smoke, so I never have to look for them again.
Yeah.
I really wish that would get fixed.
I know. I agree. Anyway, on the topic of what bugs they did fix, I mean, this is a gigantic list. I've been skimming. We're not going to read all of these, obviously. I'm just looking for any that are particularly noteworthy. Oh my goodness.
Fixing issue causing active players to be kicked out of Plunder for being AFK. That happened to me at one of the Plunder matches I played leveling guns, actually.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. Well, anyway, yeah, I don't see anything really noteworthy here, but this is a gigantic list of bug fixes. So whether they're noteworthy to me or not, it's good that they're fixing bugs. This is what mid-season updates should look like. A lot of effort into bug fixing. Infinity Ward didn't ever fix bugs, so this is great. Even if, and the reason none of these are that noteworthy is because when there was a very noteworthy bug, for the most part, it would be changed before a big patch. They wouldn't wait for a big patch to do it. That's why that's the case. So, and then other than that, that's it. That's it for the Season 1 Reloaded. So as I said, if this feels light or lacking, that's because they initially had 2 huge features planned that people didn't want, so they just didn't add them. So I cut them some slack on that. So overall, my first impressions or, opinion on these changes, I would like to snipe more to determine if they ruined sniping or if they made it too difficult. I don't think they did. So that's good, but I'd rather they hadn't changed the velocity anyway. I don't think it was particularly overpowered, but we could agree to disagree on that because I'm sure a lot of you do disagree. The weapon changes, they didn't gut a lot of the meta guns, which is good. I would rather them take their time and not go far enough with each change than just ruin a gun and for it to never be used again, a la Kilo. So we'll see how the meta unfolds, but Speaking of which, I think we do have a couple other weapon changes that have since been made. Tweeting, going back to Twitter from Raven Software. These additional weapon changes are now live in Warzone. The Interceptor was nerfed once again. Minimum damage is 66 from 78. Neck multiplier is 1 from 1.5.
Oh, nice.
And then 3 other things as well. I'm not going to read it all. They, I think, have finally gone far enough with the Interceptor nerfs. A neck multiplier going down 50% is massive. And that was contributing a lot to the fast TTK of the Interceptor, was probably people aiming for the head, hitting the neck, and getting headshot damage anyway. So that's a big deal. And then just the minimum damage, the long range damage, being reduced from 78 to 66. This is probably not meta anymore.
Yeah.
Almost certainly. And then the WSP Swarm as well. Near mid damage, 20 from 24. Mid damage, 18 from 22. Far mid damage, 17 from 20. And minimum damage, 16 from 18. Now, that's pretty much every damage range the Swarm has, except for its first damage range. So you might be thinking, well, the problem with the SMG is its max damage, because that's when you're using an SMG up close. Keep in mind, the WSP Swarm's first damage range is actually like 4 meters or something.
Yes, it was very
the fact that they didn't touch that, I think, is actually a good thing. That means it's still going to be really good inside people, but everywhere else, it got its damage reduced. So
yeah,
it's still viable, but it's not disgusting like it used to be.
Yeah,
is what I would gather from this. What have you seen about the meta, and if you have anything to add on these two guns?
One of the guys that does the weapon, like the in-game tests, his name is Blinken. He does little TikToks where it's like, this is the WSP Swarm before the update from 15 meters or something, and he shoots just a realistic spray at a person standing still and then does the time to kill. I think he tested at 15 meters or so, 10, 15 meters. Before the update, the Swarm killed at that range around 650, 680 milliseconds, I believe he said. After the update, it was over 900. So it was nerfed a lot at range.
Okay.
So I think this is... People will still run it. I mean, people were still using the Interceptor, even though it was nerfed again. People will still be running this, but I think it's going to be the new HMR9. That's going to quickly take over once everyone has that unlocked and leveled up. So, because that's better at... I mean, it has a way longer damage range. Then, of course, you can put a barrel on it like a lot of the other SMGs to extend that damage range to like 20 meters. Same thing with like the Striker 45. That was something the Swarm didn't really have, or people didn't use, at least if it did. But yeah, so it got a pretty good hit. I would still, if we continue to see this, I think they should nerf the 100 round drum mag. Because that's also the annoying thing, is just having an SMG with 100 rounds. That's outrageous.
Have like slower movement speed or something.
Lot.
Yeah.
I mean, make that thing slow as hell. It is not slow enough for getting a 100 round mag. So they could do that as well. But we'll kind of see how it plays out this next week, if people get off this gun or not.
That's why I really like this gun in Warzone is the 100 round mag, and how if you put a no stock attachment on it, you're still zooming, even with 100 rounds, which I think was a little too strong. The reason I liked this gun a lot in Warzone as a KBAM player was I built a hipfire / tac stance build.
Yeah.
And when you have 100 rounds in your magazine and your movement isn't that negatively impacted, and the fire rate is as insane as the Swarm is, that has all the makings of a really good hipfire gun. So, yeah, there probably does need to be an additional movement penalty with that 100 round mag, but seems like it's not going to be meta anyway.
Yeah.
And then, one thing to keep in mind is, like, when we're talking about SMGs and their damage ranges and using barrels to extend the damage range, something to consider is that all of the barrels, and indeed, I think all of the attachments pretty much, work on a percentage system. And the percentage is increased, for example. So when you add a long barrel to the WSP Swarm, and it adds 10% more damage range. Well, I could use literally the exact same barrel on a striker, and it'll add 10% damage range. But 10% of 3 meter base max damage range is a lot different. That's 0.3 meters, by the way. That's a lot less than 10% of the striker's damage range, which by default is like 15 meters. Well, now it's an extra meter and a half. You can see how that's a really big deal. So you can't really overcome a very, very short base damage range. That's why the WSP Swarm people like probably didn't care to use a long barrel, because it's like, cool, I got an extra 100% damage range. That gave me 2 meters. Like, okay, you know. And that's why long barrels are really, really good on some of these SMGs, like the Striker, because their base damage range is really far. So when you add 10% to it, 10% of a far damage range is a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, something to keep in mind there. But have you heard anything? What are people using as the long range gun now? What's the long range meta looking like?
I think the RAM. Seems to be the RAM. Yeah, everyone seems to be in the RAM now.
Especially with that new attachment we got, the muzzle device, right?
Yeah, that's another thing that wasn't in anywhere here to talk about it. There is a new muzzle device that helps. I don't have the exact stats because, I expected it to be in these notes and it was not, I guess. It gives you insane recoil control, but the downside is you stay on the mini-map for 30% longer, and you give a directional arrow on the mini-map like an advanced UAV, which can be good and bad in certain situations. So if you're in a building firing unsuppressed and it's Trump Tower in downtown, that person just sees the direction you're aiming. It's not going to give them the arrow indicator of elevation like we were just talking about with like bird's eye. And the comms vest is you just know where that person is looking. So it's kind of a trade-off. And then also, as you're shooting, your character is updating as you shoot. So if you're moving, looking a different direction, that will update on the mini-map as well. So you're seeing a lot of people run that. So if you're getting those if you're noticing those advanced UAV directional arrows in Warzone right now and you don't have a comms vest or something, you're like, what is going on? That means they're running the barrel. And a lot of people are running it because the recoil benefits are insane. I want to say it's like
muzzle
20% across the board on recoil, like the gun kick, horizontal recoil, and vertical recoil, I believe is all like 16-20% or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So there are a lot of people running that right now. I've seen a lot of people running that with the RAM, which kind of seems weird to me because the RAM doesn't really have recoil as it is. But I guess this really just makes it a laser beam.
But you can build it to have low recoil without using that attachment. That's true.
If you want the build, go look at Metaphor's YouTube channel or go to his Twitch stream or something. He'll have it everywhere because it was his build. Jake said it's like 60% gun kick recoil. Is that what it is? Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's,
you know what that makes me think?
I guess that makes sense.
I wonder if you use this muzzle, you can actually use the eagle's eye on the RAM if it makes it controllable enough for that. That would be very interesting.
That's a good point. It probably would, I would think, actually.
I would imagine if it's that insane. Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that yet.
Yeah, that would be something worth trying, which I will be trying, actually. But yeah, like I said when we first went over the Season 1 patch notes, actually, they had mentioned this attachment. I think that's why they didn't mention it here, because they said it's coming later or whatever. It's a new muzzle device you could put on like pretty much any gun, I think, called the Jack something. It's like the Jack BF whatever. But it's a muzzle device like a Seiken Tread, except it's like giga helpful for recoil.
Okay, more than any other muzzle device. I have it pulled up.
Yeah. And then the downside is, again, as Tanner alluded to, I want to just reiterate what I had said when we originally learned about this. This is an awesome innovation for the game. These are the types of like new things you can add to a game that are actually really cool and something I wouldn't have thought to add. Like, this is a creative, unique gameplay feature, mechanic, whatever, that is impactful and not just useless like a, experimental gas grenade that no one's ever going to use. This is something that's like actually useful, but not overpowered, because it has really strong benefits, but also substantial downsides. Where you're looking is a pretty big downside, but giving live updates of where your character is standing in real time for like 700 milliseconds or however long it is, that's a really big deal. That's a pretty big downside. But you also get to use a RAM 7 with an insane TTK, and it'll shoot like an MCW. That's a really strong upside. So that's a very cool type of new thing we've gotten that I really want to commend Raven for. I think these are the really cool innovations you can add that are impactful, useful, but not overpowered. This is an awesome new attachment, and I'm excited if they're going to think of other things to add in this vein. I think it's really cool that this is in the game.
Yeah, so the stats on it, so again, it's called the Jack BFB. Recoil control. With recoil gun kick, it helps 60%. Horizontal recoil, it gives you a benefit of 20% less horizontal recoil. And vertical recoil, 40%. That is a lot, yeah, especially the recoil gun kick, which, as we've kind of learned from exclusive Ace videos, that's actually the most important recoil stat, really, is the recoil gun kick, and that is a 60% improvement on your recoil control.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The cons, ADS movement speed. I don't know if it's the same across the board, but in this screenshot I see here on Twitter, it is minus 12%. The ADS speed is slowing your ADS speed by 9.5%, and your sprint to fire by 9.5% as well. And then again, so this is what JGod said, it turns the red dot into a directional arrow. It makes the ping last about 1 second longer as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, very big upsides, very big downsides. Really cool.
Interesting trade-off. And like I said, I was seeing a lot of people running it yesterday because I was seeing the icon all the time. I think Lag and Cope both were running it on their guns too.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and obviously you can't run a silencer with it. So like, yeah, if you wanted to be off the minimap, you can't if you want this crazy recoil control. I think it's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Moving on from there, let's see. This is a tweet from Raven. I guess I'll read this. This just kind of speaks to what we were saying about how far communication goes. We wanted to address the issues that players encountered during the Season 1 Reloaded launch period. We've been laying the groundwork for the return of some fan favorite features in upcoming seasons, which has required a degree of preemptive setup in our live environment. Yesterday's update shipped with some of that work, and we unfortunately encountered a conflict between live player data and our servers. Our teams were made immediately aware of the issues and began investigating shortly after the update went live. We rallied studio teams, let's relax, from around the world to get these issues resolved as swiftly as possible. We as devs love this game and apologize for the disruption that resulted from these events. Please know that we hold ourselves to a high standard, and yesterday's issues did not align with that. With that being said, we're also very excited for what's ahead and look forward to bringing the best we can to Warzone. So very cool. I like the communication. That is a type of tweet we have never and will never see from Infinity Ward. Just to remind you, they're a bad company and not a good company. And that communication goes a long way to foster goodwill. Awesome.
Yeah.
But in that tweet, they said they've been laying the groundwork for the return of some fan favorite features in upcoming seasons. That's interesting. I wonder what that could mean.
Yeah.
Well, here's another tweet from Raven.
Well, yeah, this little image you're talking about, right?
I was going to go over the tweet, but yeah, we can.
The image is related to what they were saying because they tweeted this right after. So the next thing they tweeted out then, they say, so anyway, what are some features we're preparing for well ahead of time, you ask? And they posted a screenshot, and it is a perk package. As you know, there are lootable perk packages in Warzone right now. It is a specialist bonus perk package. So they tweeted a picture of it leaning against the wall of the Rebirth Island sniper tower. So kind of leaking two little things there. So it is now confirmed we are getting specialist bonus perk packages back. Don't have any detail on this. We don't know when these are coming. It may not even be in season 2, but this is interesting to see. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this yet. It depends how you earn them. If they're just random loot and I can open a chest and find it, not a big fan of that. If you can only get them, say, when the Stronghold event happens in BR and then you complete a black site and you get them, that makes it interesting, worth going for. But then also it's like they're teasing it on Resurgence, so that makes me assume it's just going to be ground loot and you can find them. Unless they're bringing back some, like the little Easter eggs they used to do in Rebirth Island where you'd open the vault and you'd get a bunch of items. Maybe it's through a vault again, but yeah. So confirmed that is, so this is what was bugging the custom perk packages, number one. That was the first issue, is the custom perk packages is because it got messed up somehow with these specialist bonus packages.
Yeah. So I saw a lot of people very excited for lootable specialist in Warzone. I'm not. I never liked this because it's just way too strong. Now, on the other hand, if this is going to be like Resurgence only, I care way less because the stakes in Resurgence just aren't as high. If I lost a game of ranked Warzone, for example, to some guy who had specialist because he found it in some box that he looted 5 minutes ago, I would lose my mind. I would lose my goddamn mind. Like, wow, this guy has every perk, and that's how he won the game by RNG. That's not cool. But in Resurgence, don't care nearly as much. So I'm very curious if we're going to see specialists coming to Warzone in any capacity, because I could see them having specialist perk packages be a reward for finishing a black site, because they already have a chance to give you advanced UAVs. I wouldn't be surprised if they also had a chance to give specialist perks, which I think would be pretty bad. Worse than advanced UAVs? Probably, actually. Because if you do a black site early, you just have specialists for like 20 minutes. That's really, really strong. And I'd also have to think about all of the perks that are in Warzone now and the implications of having all of them. How strong is that? Because that's going to be stronger in other games than in some games than others. But you would get like, what would you get that you normally don't have? Shrouded. So you drop the smoke grenade when you get downed. You probably won't get downed because you have specialist. You would get
you'd always have like a Mountaineer.
Mountaineer is what I was thinking, yeah.
Tempered and quick fix all the time.
Tempered, quick fix, ghost, bird eye. I don't know how overpowered it would be, actually. I'm trying to think of, you'd get flex as well. It would obviously be very, very strong. But yeah, maybe I'm overblowing
the thing is
how strong
too,
it would be.
Well, I think more than that. The thing is too, I feel like you're thinking of specialist bonus in Warzone 1. We're not playing nearly the same game we were at that point. I mean, again, as we've always said, this is just battle Resurgence at this point. So when I have 8 gulag tokens in my backpack and my teammates have 4 flares, I care far less if I die to some guy using specialist bonus. It doesn't matter because I'm coming back to the match.
That's fair.
So I think it just fits with how the game is now. Like, I didn't like it in Warzone 1 either. I 100% agree with you. It matters, I think, far, far less in this game, which is why I'm more excited for it to come now. Because there's
That's
just
a fair point.
The game's just turned into, Resurgence.
It's all, Warzone Resurgence, right? Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, I would hope at least this would never be in something like Warzone Ranked.
Yeah, you would imagine it's not, but who knows? There are advanced UAVs there were advanced UAVs in ranked, so maybe. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get there. But yeah, I think I did overblow it a little bit. You're right. So that was kind of why They laid the groundwork for specialists. That kind of broke perks. That's the issue with the custom class perks right now. And then there was another thing, which is, again, I alluded to this earlier. Precision airstrike notifications. We weren't getting any. Well, that's because they were laying groundwork for something else. Here's what Raven said. In Wednesday's update, a bug was causing killstreak noties to not appear. This was a side effect of an in-progress quality of life feature slated for release during Season 2. So unfortunately not on the launch of Season 2. The bug has since been fixed, but how about a preview of that in-progress quality of life change? And in the preview is a little video of a guy's minimap who's being precision airstriked. And on the minimap, there is a cute little pill-shaped icon indicating the trajectory of the explosions of the precision airstrike. What we've all been asking for, I'm not kidding, years, we will finally be getting W-Wed Women's. This is a huge quality of life update. This is what I suspect Ted Timmons has been teasing on the TL about some quality of life change he's very excited about. I'm pretty sure this is what he meant. You will now see the path of a precision airstrike on your minimap once this goes live sometime in Season 2. Fantastic news.
Yeah.
W.
Massive
very
W.
excited for this. Yeah.
As am I. Yeah, this is I think Jake really was the first person that ever brought this up, and it was a really good idea, and it was probably during Verdansk. Yeah. So this is a really solid idea. I'm glad they're doing this. And to kind of go a little bit further, because some people were kind of getting confused by it. So Raven also went on to say, this change will only appear if you are within range of the precision airstrike when it's first called in. Because people were like, well, that kind of sucks, because if I'm trying to Kobe some guy driving in a car, aim it way above him, or way in front, they're not going to get a notification because it's going to hit way in front. And they're like, well, that sucks, so you can't do that anymore because they're going to see it. That won't be how it works, though. If they're out of that range when you call it in there, they will never get that notification. So,
which I think is a good compromise.
I think that's fine, yeah. So, and they say you'll still be able to surprise other players by anticipating their movements and calling one in their path.
Yeah.
So
cool. That's a good implementation as well. So basically the way this is going to work is you're not going to see that trajectory unless you get the notification that a precision's being called on you. So,
so hopefully that works. Uh-oh.
So yeah,
let's be clear. This will be very buggy and not work how we want it to on launch.
And it will still kill you through buildings. So if the precision airstrike trajectory is entirely on a building you're inside of in the basement, the Kevlar reinforced basement with 8 feet concrete thick walls, you're still going to die inside of a building to them. But at least you'll know it's happening beforehand by looking at your mini-map, I guess. But yeah, they'll never not kill you through inside a building, which is absurd. But anyways, still a big improvement over what we have now. So
yeah,
I love to see that. So, and then just a couple other little things. DOS Haus from Vanguard, according to data miners, will be coming to MW 3 sometime in the future. This is fine. I like DOS Haus a lot, actually, from Vanguard. The reason I ended up not liking DOS Haus toward the end of Vanguard was not because of the map itself, but because of every single gun, lethal, tactical, and field upgrade spewed fire. So it was a small map and everything created fire, and that made it just miserable to play. But it wasn't because of the map. It was because of everything else in the game that just lit things on fire for some reason. If you call the trophy system, for those of you who don't remember in Vanguard, fire would start spewing out of it like a water fountain. That might be a slight exaggeration, but there was way too much fire, so it made DOS Haus unplayable. But before that, it was a good, solid little map, real small, think meat-sized, but smaller even, and really fun, actually. So this will be cool to see in M. It'll be a good, like, camo grind. For sure.
map, but it was definitely made worse in Vanguard because of gung-ho shotguns, SMGs, and fire. Yeah, so it was so it had really bad lighting. There's some very dark areas where color running through, and you just basically whatsoever. So hopefully it was at nighttime, so maybe it'll be. But never liked this map at all, but it will.
It's like a map basically. So anyway, a couple other things here from Call of Duty up. Secondary melee weapon to require 2 hits to kill, so you can't just knife people, auto kill them in ranked, which I think melee weapons don't in FPS games. So
yeah,
if you just make them, I'm on board always. They hits to kill. But moving on. Here's a list of unofficial restrictions coming to rank. So SVA, HRM, the Stalker, TAC boots, the Jack is the new muzzle device we talked about, which anyway, I don't know why those are going to be restricted in ranked play. So again, they are going to mirror line ranked play rule set, the official CDL rule set, in addition to gentleman's agreement restriction in place in CDL. So they're going to continue to have, which is good.
Yeah.
Also, update, kill cams will be at play for details and updates in Treyarch.
Cool.
Have there always kill cams in ranked play?
I was curious about this too, because talk about this before.
Seems bad.
I thought. Well, I don't think they would be in search.
CDL's easy, and I'm an expert.
True, it is very easy. Yeah,
my
guess is it's Biffle is a lot better than Scump. Yeah, it's also on this GA list. Stun grenade. No, they allowed stun grenades in player COD. That's right. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Call of Duty, by the way. Cool.
So yeah, I don't know how that works. I don't care. But anyways, that. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoy. As I said, this is going to be more than Saturday. Like, we have that many first impressions for you guys, right? But we'll have more. Maybe on episode 6, we will talk our first 0.5 impressions update.
Yeah,
because but a lot more of the game, and a lot of the changes that have been made, like the lighting and building, for example, will probably be about that. How much with the velocity changes, we'll have about that. And then also, we'll have more experience using becomes meta, and will probably be settled next Saturday. So maybe we'll do, and we'll talk about that more. We hope you guys enjoyed. We hope you overall Salt season update. A lot of balance for multiplayer, which is good. Ranked play is now out. Seem to be enjoying. I'm seeing a lot of on the TL right now, because these are people who Warzone, so they go to game modes because it's easier. Is good, obviously.
And you can use stun grenades.
And you can use stun grenades, which is super competitive. And it's aim assist. And then besides that, yeah, my big thing now is I'm curious what they're going to do with the Tacky Volvery, because they will buff it. And I'm curious if they're going to buff it a lot or not that much. And then I'm also curious what will end up happening with the covert exfils and the weapon cases.
Yeah, because they did mention it again
when that's happening.
Yeah, they did mention it, so I don't know. That's a good question. Hopefully never.
Yeah, well, I want to see what they do when they do it. Is it going to be its own dedicated mode? What's going on there? Okay. Yeah. Again, I quite like Tanner's idea of adding it to zombies, but I don't think, or even plunder rather. I think that was your idea. That would be cool, but I don't know. We'll see. So yeah. That's it, boys and girls. Follow us on Twitter at the Dropshot Pod. Join the Discord. Sub to our YouTube channel. You can just go to our website, thedropshot.com, find links to everything. Stay tuned. Stay plugged in with us. We will be back next week. And also next week, for all of you patrons listening, stay mad people who are mad at us. We have lots of patrons. Thanks. We'll have Patreon bonus episodes probably rolling out starting next week as well for the gold and above tier. And then in the meantime, you know, you get all the ad free and the early access and all that. So thanks for watching and listening. Stay humble.
Stay humble.